We're going to take a dive into the December 2025 housing market update for Cedar City, Utah and St. George, Utah to give you an idea of what is currently happening in these two housing markets. My name is Elizabeth Prisbrey. I'm with Stratum Real Estate Group. If you are looking to buy or sell here in Southern Utah, I would love to help you out with that. Please feel free to call, text, or email anytime. That contact information is down below in the description. Now, it is the first week of December, making this the December 2025 housing market update. However, we are going to look at data for the month of November year over year for the last 10 years. I have to wait until December to pull the most complete up-to-date data. Now I've pulled up some slides to give you a visual of these two markets. We'll take a look at Cedar City, then St. George, then we'll take a look at what this looks like nationally and how this affects you as a buyer or a seller. We have our active listings here in red. Remember, this is November year over year for the last 10 years. We have 310 active listings here in Cedar City right now. That is higher than we have been in the last 10 years. That means our inventory is up quite a bit. We have 80 new listings that came to the market in the month of November. That is the most listings we've had come to the market in 1 month in the last 10 years for the month of November. These listings are actually a part of the 310, but there is a large gap between these two. That means that the majority of these listings have been sitting on the market for longer than a month. We have our pending listings in purple, our sold listings in green. You'll notice our pending in purple, so we have been seeing those recover year over year for the last 4 years. Our sold listings are up slightly from last year. We're currently at 62 sold listings. Last year it was 55. The year before it was 58, and it is right on with 2022. So you can see for Cedar City, we have more buyers coming back to the market. Even though our inventory is up higher than it has been in quite a long time, we're still closing pretty comparably to what we always have in the month of November. As far as our days on market go, we have average here in red. That typically is higher than our median here in blue. Median days on market, we're at 48. That is down from last year at 53. That is well over a month, so that makes sense as to why our inventory is going up. Our homes are sitting on the market longer. A lot of that has to do with how people are pricing their homes. Average days on market, that's 71 days. That's up from 60 last year and the highest we have seen in the last 10 years. That will take into our outlier homes, those that are on the higher end of the price point, very niche market, or sellers that just are pricing their homes pretty unrealistically. As far as St. George goes, active listings higher than we've seen in the last 10 years, 777. That is up from 717 last year. However, what's interesting is our new listings went down. Last year we were at 184. This year we're at 155. That is the lowest amount of new listings that have come to the market in the last 10 years. However, we have more inventory than we've had in the last 10 years. That means most of these properties have been sitting on the market. Our pending listings, just like Cedar City, have been trending up for the last 4 years, so we still have buyers in the market. We didn't close quite as many in November this year as we did last year. This year, 117. Last year, 153. However, our pending shows me that we still have buyers coming back to the market. They might have just had a December close date. As far as days on market go, average days on market is 64, down from 65 last year, so pretty comparable. Not the highest we've seen as far as days on market. 2017 had us at 78. For our median days on market, we're at 35, exactly the same as last year at 35, so sitting on the market just over a month. Remember, this is median, so half the homes are selling faster than this, half the homes are taking longer. This is why I like to look at the median, because 35 is quite a bit different than 64. Now, our absorption rate, this is our month's inventory. This is how long it will take to sell off all of our current market if nothing else changes in the market, no new properties are added to it. You'll notice that Cedar City and St. George are both sitting at about a 4.5 month supply, higher than we've seen in the last 10 years. But what I want you to notice is anything less than a 6-month supply is still considered a seller's market and homes will appreciate. Between 6 and 7 months supply, that's a neutral market. That means home prices can appreciate, but that will go along with inflation. Anything over a 7-month supply, that's closer to a buyer's market and we'll see homes depreciate. For Cedar City and St. George, this inventory is higher than we've seen in quite a long time. So it is feeling more of a balanced market right now. If it's priced correctly, it usually will get multiple offers and go quickly. If it is priced incorrectly, it's going to sit on the market for quite a long time. Now, how is this affecting our sales price? For Cedar City, our average sales price is around $474,000. That is up from $449,000 a year ago. It has been trending up since 2022. Average usually is higher than our median because it's going to take into account those homes that are much higher on the price point. For our median sales price, which is the one I like to look at because half the homes sold for less, half the homes sold for more, we're sitting right around $416,000, up from $410,000 a year ago. So slight appreciation, not a drop, very minimal, but we are still looking like a strong market, especially considering our inventory's up higher than it has been in quite a while. St. George, that average sales price went way up. We saw a significant drop from 2023 to 2024. Last year, it was right around $557,000. This year, it's around $743,000. So there were probably a few properties that really made that jump high. As far as our median sales price, again, we saw that dip from 2023 to 2024. In 2023, we had a high point of $535,000 for the median. Remember, this is just for the month of November. Every month is different because we have ebbs and flows when we go through the market. This year in 2025, we're at $500,000. We have trended upwards almost every year in St. George, with the exception of a slight dip from 2018 to 2019, very, very slight, and then a pretty significant dip from 535 to 465 from 23 to 24, and we are on the upward trend now. It's important to note that our inventory is growing nationally as well as locally. You can see that here with our absorption rate. Cedar City, St. George, more inventory than we've had in the last 10 years, very comparable to our national stage where inventory has been going up since 2021. This is important to note because that means as sellers, you have more competition in the market. Buyers have more opportunity. That means that your home has to be priced right, has to show right, has to be available for the buyers to see it in order for it to even be on the table with their other options. Buyers, this means you have more inventory, you have more options. Gone are the days where you have to skip the inspection, skip the appraisal, and just hope that your offer gets taken above the others. So this is definitely a buyer's market here in Cedar City and St. George. Higher inventory than we've had in the last 10 years, best time to possibly get a lower sales price or some concessions from the sellers and to find that home that really fits you. But I should make mention that our buyer demand is going up. 2024 is in orange, 2025 is in blue. You can see buyer demand is trending upwards. That is how it is in Cedar City. Our pending and sold went up in Cedar City, even though St. George shows less closings from 2024 to 2025. Our pending actually went up in St. George. So buyers are still coming back. Now, what's causing that buyer demand is that we are seeing those mortgage interest rates start to trend down. The blue here is actually our mortgage interest rates. You can see it goes up and down for the last year. That's because mortgage interest rates tend to be pretty volatile. However, if you take a look at this green line, that is the trend showing that it was quite a bit higher. Now it's quite a bit lower. As those rates go down, that stipulates what our buyer demand is going to be. Right now, we've been hanging between the 6 and 6.5%. So we do still have a good buyer demand. That's why we are still seeing homes close in both of these two areas. We're also seeing homes appreciate, and I'll dive into that in a second. But what I want to make note of is when that mortgage interest rates drops below 6%, we're going to have a strong buyer demand. This is when buyers are going to start having a little bit more competition. Sellers may not have to do as many concessions. They might be able to get the price that they're asking for. And so that's just more evidence that this really is a good time for you as a buyer to get out into the market if you have been thinking of purchasing a home. Now, as far as the projections for the mortgage interest rates, we have the actual here in orange. This is where it's been over the last year. We have Fannie Mae in blue, MBA in green, and Wells Fargo in white. Wells Fargo and MBA still have us projecting out between 6 and 6.5%. Fannie Mae sees us going below that 6% by the end of 2026. So if this is where the rates stay as they are projecting, then there's a good chance we're going to keep our buyers and we will still see our home prices appreciate. You can see as far as home price forecasts go, they range everywhere from 4% from the National Association of Realtors all the way down to a depreciation of 0.3% from MBA, the average here at 1.7%. Again, this is nationally on how we expect homes to appreciate. But you can see Cedar City, even with the high inventory, we had slight appreciation from last year to this year. St. George, high inventory, less closings. We still had appreciation from last year to this year. So it's important to note that even though our inventory is up, we're still technically considered a seller's market. With that being said, just because it's considered a seller's market because of our month's inventory doesn't mean that you can get whatever you want for your home. You still have to price it competitively. Otherwise, those buyers are going to just walk. Sellers, if your home is sitting on the market for quite a long time, expect to take quite a bit less than what you initially listed it for. Buyers, if you see a home sitting for quite a long time on the market, there's a pretty good chance that you can get some seller concessions or a lower purchase price on that. Here's a great chart showing the potential savings to a buyer when you see that home sitting on the market longer. So for example, a home's listed at $400,000, but it was priced incorrectly. It should have been listed quite a bit lower. If that home continues to sit on the market, you could have a pretty substantial savings as a buyer. So if you're looking to get a deal on a home, maybe look for those homes that have been on the market for quite a while and see if that seller is willing to negotiate. All right, I realize I went through that pretty quickly. Keep in mind, this is specific to Cedar City and St. George. It does not take into account the outlying cities, and it's always best to look at your specific property or the neighborhood that you are interested in, and we can pull the data specific to those areas. Remember, if you are looking to buy or sell here in Cedar City, St. George, or really anywhere in Southern Utah, I would love to help you out with that. My name is Elizabeth Prisbrey. I'm with Stratum Real Estate Group. Please feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. I promise you I will respond. All right, until next time, have a wonderful day.